Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Bagas here, and today we're gonna be reviewing an infamously bad documentary, Monsters Resurrected. And we're basically gonna find out how long before I have a fit of rage. And considering how frustrated Planet Dinosaur got me, I don't have high hopes. Monsters Resurrected is a 6-episode documentary where the main focus is, as you can probably guess, depicting how prehistoric creatures could kill each other. The documentary has typically brief animated scenes of the creatures intercut with the paleontologists talking to the camera, and segments where we get a 3D model of the creature that is used to convey certain parts of the animal's anatomy. Now actually, not a lot of the documentary is about the scenes of the animals, so like my Choose by Killer Dinosaurs review, I'm only going to be mentioning the overall topic and a few highlights. The first episode focuses on the terror bird and how to kill, obviously. It shows their hunting technique and a few other facts about them. We also get other animals such as the Smilodon and Edward's wolf that both fight the terror bird. To be entirely honest, I got quickly bored watching this because it was literally the same things being talked about over and over again. That was beyond repetitive, and I just honestly felt very desensitized within the first 10 minutes. I hope this won't be a running theme with the rest of the episodes, but I don't have high hopes. The second episode stars Mosasaurus, and I will say this one is more interesting than the first as it does cover more subjects. Aside from the obvious carnage, we get to see the history of the discovery of Mosasaurus, how it evolved, and even the adaptations for aquatic life the Mosasaur has. And I gotta give credit where credit is due, this is a step in the right direction. However, I will say the second half of the episode was compared to the first half. Here it is, the infamous Spinosaurus episode. And it's just as bad as everyone says! First off, obviously the Spino design is atrocious. It took the monster concept way too literally, especially when you compare it to Planet Dinosaur. And heck, the other designs we've seen so far have actually been pretty good. But the Spinosaurus looks awful because it's too monstrous and doesn't resemble the real thing aside from the silhouette. Second of all, the claws, in fact the entire creature actually, is overpowered as heck. It can grab and kill Rugops with little effort, one-shot Carcharodontosaurus, which by the way, what is the Carcharodontosaurus look so small compared to the Spino, and pierce through Sarcosuchus armor with a relative ease. What? Like, I know Spino's claws are more impressive than other dinos, but this just goes way too overboard. Like, it literally slices through crocodile skin. And Spinosaurus couldn't just kill everything it encountered, that's not how animals work. Thirdly, we don't get a mention of Spinosaurus eating fish until the 30-minute mark. And it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter, because the information is completely contradicted by what the rest of the episode shows. Finally, how on earth did this thing lose to a pack of Rugops? Throughout the entire episode, it has been shown slaughtering Rugops, and everything else for that matter, left, right, and center. And somehow it loses to a pack. Like, it can literally just slap them and they would die. There's not even that many of them. You know what? Let's just move on. We all know this episode is bad. So let's just go on to the next, shall we? Now I have a soft spot for this episode. For one, the structure is basically unraveling a crime scene. First by examining the evidence, determining the murder weapon, and seeing the method before finally getting the full reconstruction. It makes the episode more interesting to watch and unravel the mystery. The only thing I wish was that if they didn't show it as much during the actual analysis, so that it could be more of an actual mystery, because you can already sort of piece together the puzzle relatively early on, which I guess is cool and does help it a bit, but at the same time I would have liked it if it was kept a secret up until the actual hunt. The other thing is that for some reason they have two models of Acrocanthosaurus, and this one, which by the way is the more accurate one, was apparently meant for Dinosaur Revolution. And I don't know why they included it here, and also why they didn't just use this as the main model, since the model they did actually use looks far worse compared to this one. One last thing is that this episode likes to compare Acrocanthosaurus with T-Rex a lot, and while it's for sure overplayed, I at least do like how it's a direct comparison between the traits of the two animals. The opening of episode 5 is weird. Like, these guys see an amber sign and they run. But then one of them gets killed and now they want to fight it? But then they just end up running again. Like, why didn't you guys just continue running? Why did you try and fight it? Anyways, I think the most obvious thing to go over is the visuals. For some reason, this episode doesn't look as great as the others, particularly with the models. Like, they just look kinda weird and a bit too monstrous. Also, there's this, like, filter over all of the prehistoric scenes that makes the colors more dull and seemingly more washed out. I don't know why they decided to have the episode look like this. Aside from that though, I do like how we get more scenes of the modern analogs of the Amphision, as it makes it seem more factual and also just makes the episode more interesting. I think out of all the episodes, this one is my favorite, and also probably the best out of all of them. For starters, the structure is really good. We start with a brief introduction of all the animals, and throughout the episode, we see how they interact with Megalania. And with each one, there's a sense of increasing difficulty for Megalania that also subtly shows us the food chain of the ecosystem. Another thing is that we get a lot more of the real-life discoveries of the animals, such as the Australian sinkholes, which are basically the Australian version of the Laboria tar pit. We also get a lot more scenes of the modern analogs, which, like the previous episode, makes it more factual and interesting. We even get a debunking of the myth that Komodo dragons have a septic bite, when in reality they just had venom glands. And aside from that, the topics discussed are also just really interesting, like how monitors smell using their tongues, and how they can breathe efficiently while running. And there's even parts where we get to see how prehistoric bones are dated. Most of these were completely new to me when I first watched this. It's also just really cool to see all the unique fauna of prehistoric Australia. Really, in my opinion, this one stands head and shoulders above the rest, and honestly, it's kind of disappointing that this was part of Monsters Resurrected. It doesn't even really feel like a part of the series. So, to be honest, it didn't, at the very least, Monsters Resurrected didn't leave me feeling all that sour. To absolutely no one's surprise, Monsters Resurrected isn't the best dinosaur documentary. The most obvious thing is the depiction of the animals. Most of them are depicted as bloodthirsty killers, especially the Spinosaurus. Because of that, the scope of what subjects are covered is also very narrow, with I guess the exception of Giant Ripper, which did actually cover more interesting information. Another thing is the direction. The narration at times can be overly dramatic, and the scenes within the show are so action heavy that I just felt very desensitized. Like, I'm not joking when I say within the first 10 minutes of Terror Birds, I was already desensitized and uninterested. There's also a lot, and I do mean a lot, of reused footage. Even footage from other documentaries is included. Like, they can't even be bothered to recreate it, which just adds to the desensitization. Also, I feel like the episodes could have fit into a shorter duration because for most of these, the last 15 minutes feel like filler to just increase the runtime. And I know that information is delivered within them, but they just felt like an add-on. The cinematography also feels like a less intense version of Planet Dinosaur's Gorilla style, and it's really worse because sometimes the camera doesn't even focus on the right thing. Also, I have to bring up the Spinosaurus episode again, because it's just so bad. In actuality, the rest of the episodes aren't actually that bad. There are definitely worse dinosaur documentaries out there, but the Spinosaurus episode just drags the rest of them down because of how horrendous it is. Not only from the paleontology side, but also just how dirty they did Spinosaurus. Like, this was one of the first times we see Spinosaurus in a documentary, and we get this depiction. Wow. Now, even though I've spent most of the review, in fact pretty much the entire review, ranting about the series, it's not to say it doesn't have its merits. I do like the biomechanics segments, and I like them for the same reason as I do the ones in Tubercular Dinosaurs. Also, the actual CGI isn't that bad. Aside from the Bear Dog episode, the creatures generally look great. Not the most realistic, but they do look good. Also, I do think Giant Ripper is significantly better than the other episodes. It's just a shame that the others are not on the same level. And I mean, the series does depict some creatures who haven't had dinosaur documentaries yet get, the spotlight. But that's pretty much all I have to say for the positives, or at least the big positives. Because overall, the series is still not great. And honestly, if Monsters Resurrected is this bad, I don't want to imagine how bad Jurassic Fight Club will be. Alright, tier list time. Quality wise, I give it a 3.2. the overall show is just not very good, and that's probably the best the one sentence summary I can give, because like the thing, it covers too shallow of a scope, just dinosaurs killing each other, and obviously the Spinosaurus episode is probably one of the worst dinosaur documentary episodes I've seen in my life. Entertainment wise, I give also a 3.2. Despite being very action heavy, you can easily get desensitized because there's too much action. The episodes also talk about the same thing over and over again, and scenes are reused over and over again. It just makes this show very not interesting to watch. So, yeah, even though it wants to be entertaining, it fails at that tremendously. Rewatchability wise is again a 3.2. This is 3.2 City apparently. Don't watch this. There are way better dinosaur documentaries out there, and it's just don't watch this when you have other better dinosaur documentaries. And the series is also really long. It's 6 episodes, each 45 minutes. That is incredibly long, and not to mention how boring the episodes actually are. But I guess if you want to watch it for some reason, the episodes except for the Spinosaurus one are decent, and Giant Pepper is actually pretty good. But to be entirely honest, you don't have to watch the whole series because once you've watched up one episode, you've basically watched all of them. And as for my opinion, it's a 3. I don't like this documentary. But I will say, if it weren't for the Spinosaurus episode being as bad as it is, I maybe could have given it a higher score. And I do have a soft spot for the Megalania episode because it's actually pretty good. But yeah, that does not save it from me not liking it. And that gives us a total of 12.6, the lowest documentary so far, and being the first dinosaur to be in the C tier. Good job, Monsters Resurrected. You failed us all. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And that was a chore to get through. Like, I was so bored. Like, at times, like, I wasn't even halfway through the episode. I was just like, can we just get it done? Like, I know what to write, so let's just finish the episode already. And, yeah, that definitely added to my disliking of the series. And, I felt like this should be lower on the tier list, but I mean, the score is the score, and I can't just, fully dismiss it either, because it does have some merits, and, yes, I'm looking at the script. But, yeah, I hope I never have to watch the series again, and, it'll probably be a while since I review any more bad games or documentaries, and, yeah, I'll see you in the next video.